many global leaders are at the United Nations, Stuart, talking about the future. And one of the leaders that stood up there, gave a 15-minute presentation, was President of Argentina, Javier Milei. And what he came out and said was, I'm not a politician, I'm an economist. I'm a liberal, I'm a libertarian. Those are the words he used. And what he was talking about is enough with the woke speech, enough with what people think others want to hear to further an agenda that doesn't make any sense. He, in a sense, said to the world in the United Nations, we need to rethink our approach to the future because we're misleading our population. I'm paraphrasing that. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Red Network. I'm David Solomon. He's Stuart Brisgell. This is the podcast that we love to talk about all these unedited, unfiltered, and uncensored conversations. And today we're going to go really outside of our usual range of topics because we love not only expressing our opinions, but we like to challenge sometimes the status quo. This is where we share our thoughts, our experiences. But like I said, in many times, we're not a media house, but boy, do we do our homework. And today you'll see what we mean. We dive in general into the latest news, pop culture, and politics, and so much more. And today, it's a question of, do you think that we're living in absurd times? Because this is absurd. And as we get into an American election, and in 2025, there will be a Canadian election, and there will be other elections, are we sure we understand what our politicians are telling us? And so, folks, the reason I started this whole thing was, if we look back, 2009, right, Stuart? 2009, everybody in the United States, well, not everybody, but a lot of people in the United States were excited. A new era. The Obamas were coming in. We didn't realize it'll be 2 terms. We had a 4-year Trump term, and now we're ending a 4-year Biden-Harris term. And it's interesting, for 12 of the last 16 years, we have heard almost polar opposite messages. And the crazy thing, Stuart, is your people and the media on the left continue to push the Democrats' agenda. And on the right, you got people saying, no, it's not quite true. But like Galileo experienced, if more people say it's right, you can't challenge. We've done some homework. Let's challenge common beliefs, please.
All right. Well, David, thanks for the intro. And I got to tell you, in this conversation, we're just going to assume that our audience is just American. But you can apply this concept to be Canadian, European, whatever country you come from. And the bottom line is, it's about data. You know, David always gives my pain in my thorax side that, you know, I spend too much time on the minutiae and data. Like, he corrects me in history, so he does the same. But I want to bring us back and recap a bunch of things. And I'm going to share my screen, which hopefully shares quickly. Start screen share. There we go. Window. There it is. Share. It's not sharing. There we go. There we go. So, you know, we all remember COVID. And when you dealt with COVID, you know, we shut down all our schools. And it was because the children were dying, and it was to protect our youth. Okay. Well, let's look at the data sourced from the CDC. The one organization that was standing out there on a regular basis telling us the data. So here's source data from influenza estimates, which were 2018 to 2019. And this is a study published October 2nd, 2021, which was the height of our data collection for deaths to COVID. As you can see, the influenza deaths of 0 to 17 was 0.01 of the population. COVID was 0.002. So less people died 0 to 17 of COVID than they did of actual influenza. But we never heard of a school board shutting down a school. Did you, David?
Oh, no, never.
Now where the real data changes immensely is the 65 plus. But even that data is skewed because in this data that we got over here, they literally included anything that included any other death. So a complication to an influenza is excluded in the influenza chart, but the COVID chart includes someone who died of something as of being very ill and very sick and very compromised and died. So the number is still very high, 3.9% estimate by age. I don't think that's bad. And I don't think that merited closing down all the schools, all the businesses, other than for political control. The weekly of numbered deaths from all causes, David. Let's go to the data. Again, sourced as of 9/16/2023 by the CDC. You could see the line here on black, which is the upper bound threshold. And then you can see the predicted amount of deaths from all causes. You would think the arrow would be pointing up between 19 and 23. But if you look at it start over here, and you look at it end over here, the slant isn't like this, David. The slant is leaning down. Okay, let me go to the next slide. The credit market of debt, non-financial credit market of debt. It's at an all-time high. But the government's trying to tell you today the economy is strong. The Green New Deal was good for you. The corporate assets, companies are weak since 2008, the financial crisis. What line do you see? Up, not down. Let's talk about debt to assets. Another big number. This is sourced from the Federal Reserve. It's Q1 1990 to Q4 2023. The assets and credit market debt. Credit market debt since 2008 hasn't really risen that much proportionately to the amount of assets of companies. Interesting. The cost of service debt over GDP. You look at the 80s, look at today. This number is still down. Let me go. Pre-tax, oh, let's skip that one. That's not important. Let's now talk about inclemental weather. Originally in the 80s, and I remember it, we had an ice age coming. Yet the world was warming up. Then it became global warming. Then they said global warming is causing major hurricanes. Look at the line. The line is going in what direction, David?
It's flat. It's down a little bit, but yeah.
It's actually down. But remember, the Green New Deal, global warming, and this is sourced from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, collected data 1900 to 2024 of all major hurricane scores that are 3+ on the Saffir-Simpson scale. Now, hang on. Most people take a segment of the data and just give you a segment of it. Here is the whole chart, guys, for 100 years. It's kind of interesting. Landfall in the United States. The next argument is there's more physical damage. Your insurance company is raising your rates because there is more consequential damage. Again, sourced from the same people, same date range, ending 9/15/2024. David, this is fresh data. Look at this arrow. Which way is the arrow going? It's still down. Yeah. But yet your insurance prices are going in what direction?
No, but it's more than that. It's you've got the Kamala Harris is still screaming that it's on the
global warming, Green New Deal. You must. Now, global warming, the threat of CO2 emissions, the environment, the annual average excess deaths due to cold water or heat as a result of weather. This is sourced from the National Bureau of Mortality. And this is source data from 2000 to 2019. And this says all this data on the bottom, which I can always send you guys. The amount of deaths is gone what direction? Due to heat and cold, it's gone down. Less people are dying from heat and cold in 20 years by over 10x. Let's now talk about the death of climate-related weather. Extreme floods, droughts, storms, wildfires, extreme temperatures. From 1920, sourced from the Epidemiological Society of Disaster of our country. From 1920, looking forward to 2023. What direction is that going in, David?
It's down again.
Down again. It's been relatively flat for 30 years. Let's talk about CO2 emissions and the Green New Deal and the run for EV electrical power vehicles and the amount of air pollutants. Now, back in 1960, the United States represented nearly 3 million pounds. This is source data from the Carbon Project. Source data is 1960 to the current date, because you'll see that as we go further down. This is not indicative of any investment. This is just raw carbon production. United States eclipsed the world. Let's flash forward. 2020, China has over 2.5 times. That's 2.5 times. You see that, David? India will surpass the United States by 2 times by the end of the decade. Who's producing all the carbons in the world? David?
Right. Yeah, you're talking about, listen, the greatest polluters in the world are China, India, Russia.
Where is the air? Source World Health Organization, our favorite, the WHO people. Where is the cleanest air currently in the world?
Well, it seems like North America.
No, between the United States and the United Kingdom.
Oh, well, yes.
And from there, Canada's not even on here. I think Canada is probably somewhere here. It's probably pretty good there. But look where it is. Now, David, what is the point of all of this data? And you know, everyone gets mad at me because I always seem to talk about data. The facts are, every 4 years, the United States divides into 2 parties. In Canada, every how many years do you pick a prime minister?
Also about 4 years.
So why does the data become non-relevant as a whole, but only a snippet? You know, the Democrats would have you believe the Republican Party destroyed the United States, where the last 16 years have been a Democratic Party. Kamala Harris would have you believe that she isn't currently in power, and that all these changes are only going to happen if you elect her. But she hasn't done a damn thing. So where is the common sense? They talk about our wonderful president of the United States, our former president that has been attempted to be assassinated not once, but twice. That he is the reason why there is so much hatred in the world. But he hasn't been in control. There were no wars while he was in power. Were there? The economy was booming. Was it? But the data as a whole is what you've got to analyze. And you got to be a quick thinker. You can't accept it without looking at data and understanding the source data. It's the same like checking one person, not another. Discord, you know, again, I bring up Walter Cronkite. I had the privilege of being with a man by the name of Jin Bowen. He is the CEO of a company called First Trust, where I got most of this data, which is a $218 billion assets under management firm. He is by far representing Democrats and Republicans. He's representing Americans, Europeans, and Canadians around the world. as an asset manager since the 1980s. The importance of mentioning this is it's nothing to do with how I feel. You got to be a critical thinker. Financial advisors are critical thinkers. I want to look at the actual raw data. I want to know where it came from. I want to know how legitimate, how dirty is the data. Terminology is most important. We're talking about an election of all ages. Every 4 years, it's an election of all ages. Every 4 years, it's a run against democracy. And this cliche was not invented by Republicans. It was invented by Democrats. Today, you've had both parties flip. Clearly. Republicans are representing a demographics that the Democrats owned. And the elitists are trying to convince you what's good for you. Guys, it's about data. It's about critical thinking. That's what I'm just trying to convey, David. Get our topic off of the regular norm that we talk about. Let's just talk about data. David, did I bore you to death?
No, you didn't bore me to death, but it's actually quite interesting because what you've done is you've debunked. You've debunked what we're hearing, not just in the United States. We're hearing this in Canada. We're hearing this in Europe. We're hearing this whatever. And the media, the problem is that the media has run with this sensationalism. And Stuart, if you just look at some of the ways they even talk about it, extreme weather, you continue to have that. When you talk about global climate change, climate problems, we've had Al Gore since 2000 screaming about all this kind of stuff. We keep hearing how bad our lives are whatever. Listen, the hot topics right now going into the 2024 election, Stuart, are about, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? That's really the question, right? And, people are and I've had conversations, I've been traveling quite a bit lately, and my conversations with Americans have been, and with both sides of the aisle, and even people who are independents are saying, you know what? We are tired of the rhetoric. We're tired of the noise, and we're tired of being spoken down to. We're tired of the Nancy Pelosi's, but they're also, they're also tired of the Marjorie Taylor Greens. They're fed up. And what you did today is exactly what they need to see. Is reality is that, listen, when COVID started, and I spoke to some politicians who were involved with COVID, they said we didn't know. We went based on data. Okay, so admit you were wrong. Admit you misled people. The answer was no. We're not going to do that because then it opens a Pandora's box. Oh, I see. So it's better to be thought of wrong than proven. Okay, fine, no problem. We see this in a lot of other things. In Canada, we talk about, climate change. Our temperature, extreme weathers. If it's hot, if it's cold, it's like, enough. And so congratulations to you and to your friend for bringing that information. That was great. That was what we need to hear. And unfortunately, as you go to the ballot box in about 40 days.
No, we're going to the ballot box already. We're at the ballot box already.
Stuart, I'm just saying the majority of the population will be at the ballot box. But as you are going to think of I would actually challenge your politicians with this data. I would challenge, Congress people, senators, candidates, all across the board. Why do you tell us we have a problem when the numbers show otherwise? Why are you telling us and this is the thing. So this is why you have the Democrats, trying to sway you on abortion. The way they realize they can't get you on that. So let's get you on abortion on facts. And even that they muddle. And we'll talk about that in another rant. They try to muddle the facts, but they're not giving it to you. And to summarize what was said on CNN, the Democrats are playing as if they have not been in power for 12 of the last 16 years. The problems that they're claiming that are occurring, as you said clearly, are made by whom? And we'll leave it at that. Stuart, last word to you.
I'm sorry to bore everyone.
Bore everybody.
These charts, it's all about data. And remember that. It's just about data. David, I think it's time to say goodbye. I blew a lot more than quarter hour.
That's okay. That's it, folks, for today. Thank you so much for tuning to the Rant Network. Again, this is where we try to provide some valuable insights. We are not a media house, but look what we've done to debunk the media yet again. So we appreciate your support. Check us out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, folks. You can see it right there. Click on the YouTube channel. Check us out at therantnetwork.com. We're on Facebook. We're on all the social channels. And we look forward to catching you